The president has said that he is putting these major tariffs on our major trading partners because of the trade deficits that the U.S. has. A short time ago said in the Oval Office that he is open with talking to the European Union. In fact, he said that they're coming over, that they'd like to talk the European Union. Take a look at these numbers. So the U.S. exports to the European Union about $370 billion worth of goods.
What happens when Trump threatens a 30% tariff on European goods? Well, Germany, France, and Italy didn't just frown. They strategized a $102.2 billion retaliation package. But it's not just about numbers. Wait until you hear how California's almond farmers and Oregon's walnut producers might feel the sting of the EU's revenge. And that's just the beginning of their high-stakes game of economic chess. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Imagine sitting down to enjoy your favorite French cheese or a bottle of Italian wine, only to find out prices have skyrocketed because Trump slapped on a 30% tariff.
And Donald Trump addressed his controversial tariffs during that Oval Office appearance a short time ago. He made it clear that he's not concerned about cutting new trade deals.
From the 10% universal tariff currently on the European Union, our biggest collective trading partner.
And the tariffs he's proposing are likely the final word on the subject.
Now imagine Europe's response. A $102.2 billion slap right back at the U.S. It wasn't just any response, though. Germany, France, and Italy turned their frustration into what can only be described as a carefully planned, high-stakes revenge plot. When Trump announced his tariffs, it wasn't just the economy the EU worried about. It was cultural pride, national identity, and decades of trade partnerships suddenly under threat. Germany moved first, pushing for a massive $102.2 billion retaliation package. But nothing in the EU ever happens without some internal drama.
The deals are made. There are no deals to make. They would like to do a different kind of a deal, and we're always open to talk.
As you mentioned, Trump said that on August 1st, the EU is going to be slapped with a 30% tariff. That's an increase.
We are open to talk, including to Europe. In fact, they're coming over, they'd like to talk.
While Germany zeroed in on protecting its automotive industry, which accounts for millions of jobs, France was laser-focused on saving its image as the world's gourmet capital. Nobody messes with their wine and cheese. Italy's big concern? Luxury yachts. Turns out, Italy's yacht industry isn't just about billionaire toys. It's a lucrative export and a status symbol, one they weren't about to let flounder. So what did the EU do? They built what they called a stepwise retaliation framework. Sounds boring, right? Not when you get into the details. This wasn't just a you hit us, we hit you kind of move.
European negotiators say trade between the U.S. and EU could be effectively cut off if Trump goes ahead with a 30% tariff that he threatened over the weekend.
Who and when, but this is a little bit of the lines of communication opening at the same time that we are in crunch time right now.
Prohibits the trade. So if you're talking about 30% or 30% plus, there will be a huge impact on trade. It will be.
They decided to go for the jugular. American products like almonds, walnuts, whiskey. Yes, whiskey. It's not some random list either. These products represent key industries in U.S. states that just so happen to swing red politically. Coincidence? Probably not. If you think targeting California almonds, Kentucky bourbon, and Wisconsin dairy is just about economics, think again. These exports represent livelihoods and, more importantly, voter bases. Germany, France, and Italy came together like a trio of chess grandmasters crafting moves to force Washington into an uncomfortable corner. But here's the kicker. The EU isn't playing defense. They're moving pieces on a global chessboard, targeting industries that could cause enough backlash to shake up Washington itself. That's where things really start to heat up.
Almost impossible to continue the trading as we are used in a transatlantic relationship.
The European Union is warning that trade with the U.S. could effectively be wiped out if President Trump makes good on his threat to slap a 30% tariff. EU trade ministers are meeting today in Brussels to strategize a response to tariff threats from President Trump.
What do California's almond farmers, Oregon's walnut producers, and Wisconsin's truck manufacturers have in common? They've all landed squarely on the EU's carefully designed retaliation list. And let's just say the EU isn't throwing darts at a map. This is a strategy built to hit where it hurts, not just economically, but politically. When the EU got to work on their response to Trump's tariffs, they didn't just slap a tax on a random pile of goods, they went deeper. Analysts studied US voter behavior and pinpointed industries that not only were vulnerable, but also occupied key Republican strongholds. Take California's almond farmers, for example. The EU is a massive market for American almonds, making up about 40% of their overseas sales. If the EU puts tariffs on those almonds, it's not just the farmers who'll pay the price. The ripple effect would hit everyone from the guys driving the trucks to the factories that package the almonds. It's a chain reaction designed to grab the attention of not just business owners, but their lobbyists, and eventually their representatives in Washington.
The president has said that he is putting these major tariffs on our major trading partners because of the trade deficits that the U.S. has. A short time ago said in the Oval Office that he is open with talking to the European Union. In fact, he said that they're coming over, that they'd like to talk the European Union. Take a look at these numbers. So the U.S. exports to the European Union about $370 billion worth of goods.
And it's not just almonds. Wisconsin, home to truck manufacturers who supply vehicles for agriculture and logistics, could face significant losses if tariffs target their heavy-duty shipments. Meanwhile, Oregon's walnut industry, already dependent on the European market, might be looking at warehouses full of unsold stock. Even niche industries like handmade motorcycles in Pennsylvania weren't safe from the EU's microscope. Imagine a Harley-style bike being met with sky-high taxes in Europe. Let's just say some smaller manufacturers aren't revving their engines with joy. But the EU didn't stop at agriculture or manufacturing. They turned their attention to Silicon Valley, slapping tariffs on US-made cloud computing hardware. That means servers, racks, and specialized chips are about to cost a lot more in Europe. The EU isn't just taxing gadgets, they're shaking a tech giant's business model, disrupting cloud expansions, investment plans, and even the location of future data centers. This strategy, if anything, is a masterclass in precision. Every sector targeted puts pressure on Republican lawmakers and nudges some of Trump's biggest allies into an uncomfortable corner. But will all this targeting lead to a solution? Or a trade war nobody wins? The EU's $102.2 billion retaliation package isn't just about protecting European exports. It's a political chess move aimed straight at Washington. By targeting products tied to key U.S. voter bases, the EU turned economic policy into a weapon of influence. And the stakes aren't small. Economists warn even limited tariffs could shave off up to 0.4 points of growth in both the Eurozone and the U.S., which already face inflation challenges. This begs the question, how interconnected is our economy really? Because when tariffs raise prices and tank sales, it's not just governments taking the hit, it's people like you and me.